It's no, nobody stopped. Everybody's able to record in the panelists. So you can have your own recording. So Ajay should be working.
Let me check. Okay, just 1 second. I'm just updating the titles. 1 second. I'll just put the right title.
It's not broadcasting yet.
No, broadcast I will not do right till the program starts. Just let me check if I am getting the stream, and that's it. So.
Yeah, I'm on the page YouTube VHP, but I'm not seeing anything there yet.
Yeah, I think I'm getting the stream. 1 second.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see Sanjay Bhai and all that. So I'm getting the stream.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so whenever it starts, I'll start the broadcast.
YouTube पे चला दो main पे and close the door. And 2-minute warning. We're starting in 2 minutes. Exactly 2 minutes. If everybody is now I think everybody is ready. We are to go in about 2 minutes.
Great. Thank you.
So Upahar ji, JJ and Lakshmi ji, जो भी आप questions collect करेंगे ना, can you text those to me?
Okay.
Sure, Sanjay ji.
When you
text करेंगे WhatsApp?
WhatsApp करते हैं ना एक अपना जो
मुझे लगता है कि आप मुझे text कर दो अगर if you can.
Okay, चलेगा, कोई बात नहीं.
ठीक है.
I think WhatsApp for me may be easier. I can just copy and paste.
आपको सामने chat नहीं दिख रहा है इसका webinar chat. वहाँ पे डाल देते हैं. Isn't that easy for you? आपको इधर-उधर नहीं देखना पड़ेगा ना?
That's easy. That would be much easier. See, but then other people may also be putting their questions in the chat.
We'll do it as a private. Acha, okay, never mind. We'll put it on the text for you.
Oh, no, or you can just put the chat to me, not to the all.
Yeah.
All right, we're getting started. Namaskar. Welcome to this monthly webinar series on Kashmir. Today, the chosen topic is Kashmir, ground realities and core concerns. This webinar is co-sponsored by Panun Kashmir, World Hindu Council of America, World Hindu Policy Research and Advocacy Collective, Hindu Pact, and Hindu Media Bureau. I am Sanjay Kaul, an American citizen of Indian origin. I am a Kashmiri Hindu born and brought up in Kashmir. I moved to Boston in 1991 after the exodus from Kashmir. I am your moderator for this panel discussion. Pundits have become the targets and victims of one of the most successful, though little known, campaign of ethnic cleansing in the world. They faced genocide in Kashmir and then denial of their genocide by successive governments in India. Their exodus did not attract any international attention, as the campaign against them has passed virtually unnoticed and on which the world has remained silent. Through this panel discussion today, we plan to hear about the ground realities in Kashmir. We want to get an assessment of the current situation, followed by a review of where we stand today as a refugee community, and tell you about what have been our challenges and what have been our core concerns. My esteemed panelists today include Dr. Agni Shekhar, Sri Sushil Pandit, Sri Lalit Ambardar, Dr. Ajit Rangu, Dr. Gidarilal Ban, and Sri Pintuji Pandita. I am sure they will share with you certain facts that you don't get to know otherwise. My personal goal for this event is that all of our participants and viewers must support our movement and take part in it in one way or the other. I will start by defining certain ground rules for this webinar today. Number one, Except for the panelists, everyone else will should stay on mute. And for each of my panelists, I will introduce them, pose a question, and allow them to share their views. Each of the panelists will have 8 minutes to respond. This will be followed by a question and answer session. If anyone from our audience intends to ask questions, Zoom participants, please do so in the chat session. And viewers on Facebook Live and YouTube, please ask your question through the comment section, where you please mention your name and place of residence and put the name of the panelist to whom you are interested in asking the question, and then put your question. I would appreciate if you follow this format. To start the webinar, I would like to invite Sri Kiran Watalji to light the ceremonial lamp and then say a few words. Mr. Watal is an engineer by profession and has served the Jammu and Kashmir state in various capacities, including Chief Engineer, Urban Environmental Engineering Department, Managing Director, Jammu and Kashmir Housing State Housing Board, and Commissioner, Jammu Municipal Corporation. In addition, he is a devoted social activist who is currently serving 2 NGOs, Vishwa Kashmir Samaj and Mata Kheer Bhavani Welfare Society, as its convener. He is also the national president of Amarnath Yatra Welfare Society. As Kiranji lights the lamp, I request Sri Kamal Peshan, who is a social activist also from Jammu. He is a renowned Kashmiri stage actor and a singer. I would request him to recite the prayer. Please go ahead, Kiranji.
Thank you, Sanjay ji.
Kamalji, you're on.
Om Astoma Sadgamaya Om Tamsoma Jyotirgamaya Om Mrityurma Amratam Gamaya Om Shanti 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 Om Namo Namo Gazandraya Ekdant Daraya Namaye Ishwar Putraya Shri Ganeshaya Namo Namah Godnyuk Tsechui Adhikar Kalkaj Kui Chuk Tajdar Karas Ananchuk Tsi Jamao Shri Ganeshaya Namah Om Hara Hara Mahadev. Over to you, Sanjay ji.
Kiranji, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, first of all, I am thankful to your good self for organizing such webinars. Though you have been all along for last 32 years with this our fight for justice, and particularly for this displaced community. And the good part is that you are not only you are worldwide campaigning, rather fighting for the our community and awareing and educating the whole world what has happened to us during the 89-90s. And not only that, our also old history. From last 700 years, we have been, more than 700 years, we have been there facing this onslaught. And what genocides and ethnic cleansing we have been facing, and right from 89-90 onwards. So it's a very good initiative from your side that during this pandemic, you have started with this webinar. And this is the only source we can have interaction and decide further course of action, what we have to, how we have to solve this problem and return back to our own Kashmir with honor, dignity, and respect. Further, I am also thankful to all panelists, particularly who have joined us from abroad. Lakshmi ji, Dr. Agni Shekhar is locally placed here in Jammu, Sushil ji, Ambardar ji, and this other panelist, I can't, Ban Saab bhi hai. I am also thankful to them all, the which whom I have missed. So my humble request to all panelists and particularly Sanjay ji, that now it's more than 30 years we have been conducting such seminars, and lot of things have done by our panelists here, the prominent who are national and international level. They have also played a very positive role towards this our sufferings of our community. And now further, I want that we should do something on ground zero, and all feedback you can have from the Jammu, particularly camp and non-camp area, and then that should be some proposal should be there for the persons, for the families who are here in Jammu, in camp or non-camp area, or in other Delhi or other cities of India, so that they are really facing very hardship. They have very limited source of financial, they have financial constraint and very limited resources they have. So whether their education or social, their problems or their health care, we all should work for those families who are really wants us at this time. And I am again thankful to all panelists. They have spared their valuable times, and in particular Sanjay ji, who have been doing this humans job for the community for last 32 years. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Mara Kiranji. Thank you for those kind words, and thank you for lighting the ceremonial lamp. And
my pleasure, sir.
Also, my thanks to Kamalji Peshin for reciting those prayers and adding the Kashmiri prayer as well. I'm very delighted by that. And with that, we move on to our panel today. My first panelist today is Dr. Agni Shekhar. Dr. Agni Shekhar, welcome. Dr. Saab is a Kashmiri Pandit writer and a political activist. He is a founder of Panun Kashmir, a group that advocates for the cultural rights of Pandits and a homeland. Currently, he serves Panun Kashmir organization as its convener. As a writer, as a poet, he has contributed to the development of Hindi poetry of exile from a distinctly Kashmiri perspective. Agni ji, namaskar. We all know and understand the old guard in Kashmir, the likes of Abdullahs, the Muftis, and many like them continue with their age-old activities. Recently, they have regrouped with a new vigor. The Gupkar declaration that they have come out with and their recent anti-national statements is a matter of concern. At the same time, their participation in the current village representatives elections show that they continue to play it both ways. As a historian and a scholar, what is your assessment of the political situation in Jammu and Kashmir, and what has changed, and where are we headed now? Please, we would like to hear from you. Agni ji, please unmute yourself.
ओके ठीक है अब हेलो
हाँ जी अनमरा या
ओके ओके नमस्कार मैंने कहा कि मैं आप सबका धन्यवाद करता हूं जिन्होंने एक अवसर दिया who afforded me this opportunity to express my views share my views with you at the turn of almost 30 years of our being in exile from our native land, that's Kashmir. और आज जब हम इस पे बात करते हैं तो एक तरह से आपने हम मुझको उकसाया कि एक समीक्षा करें, एक पॉलिटिकल असेसमेंट करें। उससे पहले मैं ये आपके साथ बात करना चाहूंगा कि कुछ बदलाव जरूर हुए हैं। देयर हैव बीन चेंजेस हिस्टोरिकल अनबिलीवेबल, कि आपका एब्रोगेशन ऑफ आर्टिकल 370 हुआ, 35A हुआ, रीऑर्गेनाइजेशन ऑफ स्टेट हुआ इंटू 2, लद्दाख अलग हुआ। उसके बाद क्या बदला? मैं देखता हूं कि आई कैन सी कि August 5 was a historical day and we celebrated it. We are the stakeholders of that celebration because we have been fighting against Article 370. We have been pleading for abrogation of Article 370, demanding separate homeland within Kashmir without Article 370. And उसकी वजह से ये सेलिब्रेशन नेशनल सेलिब्रेशन इसमें हम भी थे। लेकिन ग्राउंड रियलिटी अगर हम अपने पर्सपेक्टिव से देखें तो हमारे लिए क्या बदला? आज भी मैं अग्निशेखर जम्मू से, किरण जी जम्मू से, या पिंटू जी जगती से, या आप सब दोस्त जो भी कश्मीर से हैं, वी आर स्टिल इन 4th अगस्त। हमारे लिए 5 अगस्त अभी आया नहीं, हमने देखा नहीं 5 अगस्त होता क्या है। उसके बावजूद the developments which fast took place post abrogation of Article 370, हम जो देखते हैं कि आपने तुरंत रिहाई की उन लीडर्स की जो कल तक आपके लिए सॉफ्ट सेपरेटिस्ट थे, एंटी नेशनल थे, और उनके आने के बाद जैसे कि आपने खुद कहा कि गुपकार डिक्लेरेशन हुई, और ये कोई सरप्राइज भी नहीं होना चाहिए हम सब के लिए। गुपकार जो गठबंधन है, जो ये एक ग्रुप ओवर क्या है, हमारे पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से ये तो बिल्कुल हुर्रियत ही है और कुछ नहीं है दूसरे फॉर्म में, इसके न्यू अवतार ऑफ हुर्रियत। और उनकी एक्टिविटी से हमको सरप्राइज नहीं होना चाहिए, लेकिन समझना चाहिए देयर पॉलिटिक्स, देयर नॉट ओनली डबल स्पीक, देयर मल्टीपल स्पीक। अभी इंडियन स्टेट उसको ठीक से समझता नहीं है। और आपका वो डीडीसी में पार्टिसिपेशन उनका, आप देखिए कि उनके जो एंटी नेशनल स्टेटमेंट्स हैं, चाहे चाइना के साथ अपनी एसोसिएशन अपना वो सीज कर रहे हैं, या ये कोई नई बात है नहीं। नई बात होनी ये चाहिए थी कि पोस्ट आर्टिकल 370 का जो एब्रोगेशन हुआ, फॉलो अप मिसिंग है, नैरेटिव्स मिसिंग हैं। क्या आप मुझे एक मिसाल बताएंगे कि जिन कारणों से इंडियन स्टेट ने आर्टिकल 370 और 35A को न्यूट्रलाइज किया, उसका जो नैरेटिव है, द रैशनल बिहाइंड द एब्रोगेशन ऑफ आर्टिकल 370, ये नेशन को नहीं बताया जाता है। नेशन को आर्टिकल 370 डेवलपमेंट के साथ, रोड्स के साथ, नौकरियों के साथ और बिजनेस के साथ जोड़ के बताया, जो इट्स वेरी हाईली ऑब्जेक्शनेबल। वो आर्टिकल 370 के होते हुए भी आप कर सकते थे, लेकिन आर्टिकल 370 को हमने क्यों हटाया, उसके पीछे का रैशनल जो है वो टोटली मिसिंग आज भी है, तब भी था। आप उसको जोड़ते हैं, यहाँ नौकरियां नहीं मिली, यहाँ डेवलपमेंट नहीं थी। क्या आर्टिकल 370 के होते आप डेवलपमेंट नहीं कर सकते थे, नौकरियां नहीं दे सकते थे? दे सकते थे। और इस तरह जो हम कश्मीर में देख रहे हैं, जो परिवर्तन है, परिवर्तन में आपको दूर से ये दिखता है कि आपने इलेक्शन किए, आपके यहाँ बीजेपी की रैलीज हो रही हैं, अब तो शिवसेना के ऑफिसेस भी खुल रहे हैं, और ये सब होते हुए भी जो एक कोर इशू है, कोर इशू ऑफ एक्सोडस ऑफ लैक्स ऑफ कश्मीरी पंडित्स, वो अभी भी अनएड्रेस्ड है, उसे अभी भी एड्रेस नहीं करते हैं। यानी कोर इशू हमारा है not only ethnic cleansing, it is a religious cleansing, it is a religio-ethnic cleansing, यानी जिसको जेनोसाइड आप कहते हैं, जेनोसाइड आप एड्रेस नहीं करते हैं। अभी भी ये सरकार भी को सर्कमवेंट करने पे तुली है द कोर इशू ऑफ एक्सोडस। अगर आप सर्कमवेंट करते रहेंगे और फिर आप में और आपकी जो प्रेडिसेसर्स जो आपके थे, जो पुरानी सरकारें थी, उनमें कोई अंतर दिखेगा नहीं, डिस्पाइट कि आपने एक चेंज ये किया कि आपने एक लीगल कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल एक चेंज की जम्मू कश्मीर में, जो बहुत ही वेलकम है। हमने उसको सेलिब्रेट किया, हमने आपको जगह जगह हमने उसको लेकर के अपील्स की, सब कुछ किया, लेकिन उसके बावजूद जो खतरा था वो खतरा आज भी बना हुआ है। de facto Muslim state still exists in J&K. और उसके बाद जो माइंडसेट है एट ऑल लेवल्स, चाहे वो ब्यूरोक्रेसी है, चाहे वो कल्चरल लेवल पे है, डेमोक्रेटिक सोशल लेवल पे है, ये सब कुछ वही है, वो इंटैक्ट है। डिस्टॉर्शन अनअबेटेड चल रही है। आपकी एजुकेशन पॉलिसी क्या है, कल्चरल पॉलिसी क्या है, आप कैसे इस सबको चेंज करना चाहते हैं, वो माइंडसेट क्या है, वो जो है उस पर शायद हमको लगता है विजिबल नहीं है कोई चेंज। तो इसलिए वो खतरा बना हुआ है। और उसके अलावा जो पार्ट ऑफ कश्मीर है, जम्मू है, जम्मू क्यों नेग्लेक्ट आज भी फील कर रहा है, शिवालिक रेंज आज भी आपका खतरे में है। तो इन सब चीजों पर हमको लगता है कि ऐसी सिचुएशन में द इश्यू ऑफ core issue of exodus of Kashmiri Pandits need to be addressed at a priority. तो जो नहीं हो रहा है, तो हमको लगता है कि गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया, हम रिसेंटली लेफ्टिनेंट गवर्नर, जो वर्तमान लेफ्टिनेंट गवर्नर हैं साहब मनोज सिन्हा से अभी अभी हम कुछ 4 दिन 5 दिन मिले और 5 लोग, तो हमने यही बात उनसे कही। हमने कहा नैरेटिव्स का वॉर है, आपका नैरेटिव वीक है, आप नैरेटिव जो प्रॉपर होना चाहिए वो पर्सपेक्टिव अब मिसिंग है। नंबर 2, जेनोसाइड जो कश्मीरी पंडितों का हुआ उसको रिकॉग्नाइज करिए, और डिनायल ऑफ जेनोसाइड की जो प्रोसेस है उसको चेक करिए। नंबर 3, जो हमारी कश्मीर के लिए रिटर्न जो है, आपने आर्टिकल 370 है, हमको लगा कि हम वी आर नियर द गोल नाउ, क्योंकि हमको लगा एक खिड़की खुली है और हम अपना होमलैंड देख रहे हैं, लेकिन हम 1 साल से उसी जगह पे हैं जहां 4 अगस्त को थे। तो इसलिए हम चाहते हैं कि ग्राउंड रियलिटी पे 2, 3, 4, 5 बातें तुरंत गवर्नमेंट एड्रेस करे। नंबर 1 कि जेनोसाइड ऑफ कश्मीरी पंडित जो हुआ है उस बिल को सीरियसली लें और उसको एक एक्ट में तब्दील करें। नंबर 2, जो 2001 का सेंसस है जिसको बेस करके डिलिमिटेशन करना चाहते हैं उसको नहीं माने, और जो डिस्ट्रेस सेल्स कश्मीरी पंडित की उसको नल एंड वॉइड करें, और जो हमारा कल्चरल जेनोसाइड चल रहा है, इकोनॉमिक जेनोसाइड चल रहा है, सोशल जेनोसाइड चल रहा है, उस पर नजर करें, और जो हमारे बच्चे वहां हैं घाटी के अंदर जो एम्प्लॉइज हैं उनकी सिक्योरिटी, उनको फैसिलिटी देना आपका कर्म है, वो आपको करना चाहिए। जैसे जब हमारा अभी रिप्रेजेंटेटिव बोलेगा पिंटू जी, तो वहां जो फेस करनी है तो उनको आप एड्रेस नहीं कर रहे, तरह ही पैकेज को लिंक के साथ जो बहुत ही हार्मफुल है, नहीं होना चाहिए। हम इसके बावजूद करंट सरकार को, मोदी सरकार को वेलकम करते हैं, और एक्सपेक्टेशंस हमारी इसी सरकार से हैं, क्योंकि अगर हुआ हमारा तो ये हमारी लड़ाई बहुत लंबी खींचेगी। तो ये सब कहते हुए बिगिनिंग में आपने 8 मिनट का टाइम दिया है, ग्राउंड रियलिटी में कोई
I think we lost him.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Agni ji, you can reconnect. So in the meantime, thank you for those kind words about the situation in Kashmir and how it is affecting the Kashmiri Hindu community. Now I move on to my second panelist, Sri Lalit Ambardar ji. By profession, Mr. Ambardar is a building design consultant presently based in Delhi. Mr. Ambardar is a well-known Kashmiri activist and a scholar of Kashmir conflict. Being a TV and current affairs commentator, he is one of the most sought after political program panelists of Indian media. He has been a program coordinator for foreign TV and radio bureaus. Mr. Ambardar is an author at Op India and regularly writes on Kashmir in response to the articles published in national newspapers, and writes a column on a daily basis. Lalit ji, I have a 2-part question for you. Post Article 370 abrogation, please tell us about the current state of terrorist activities in Kashmir Valley and the level of religious fundamentalism in Kashmir. Also, I would like to hear from you if you could talk about the jihad aspect of militant Islam in the global context. Lalit ji?
Sir, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Namaskar. Thank you very much for this opportunity. And I think what Dr. Saab talked about narratives. I think it's actually a war of narrative. Now that we have decided not to take to the weapons, so we have to fight under whatever constitutional means are available to us. I think that has been our activism for the past 30 years. We have been trying to communicate with the rest of India and rest of the world, civilized world, telling them it's not just about Kashmir Jihad, is not just about genocide of Kashmiri Hindus. Kashmir Jihad is about continuation of the same 1,000-year-old Ghazwa-e-Hind war that sees Kashmir as a hanging fruit, because 1947 they tasted it, because when they got Pakistan, now they want to reach Delhi via Kashmir. Now, before I get onto your questions, are very interesting, very pertinent, and I would like to combine the two and give a holistic response to your question. But first of all, I want to request all of you at the beginning. We have some, like Dr. Agnishekhar was alluding to, the deprivation in the society. There are people who demand, who deserve attention. There are people who are financially stuck. Mr. Kiran Mathur was also referring to the same issue. So I think as a matter of immediate action, we have 45 young boys and girls protesting outside the press club in Jammu, demanding their their rights. They are sitting on Dharna. Today, 72nd day, and the government, the governor's office, Relief and Rehabilitation Commission is silent about it. I think we need to pursue it as long as we have our long-term goal of reaching out to our homeland. That's our long-term political. I think that's the only agenda government can also have. I'm sure they're going to go to reconcile with that today or tomorrow. If India has to retain Kashmir forever, unconditionally, you want to revive the Sanatani traditions of Kashmir, unconditional Indianness in Kashmir, Paran Kashmir is the only response. I'm sure they are reaching out to that. So first thing, short-term goals, rehabilitation, and concerns, our economic and social concerns of the people in camps especially, we need to address that. We need to take it up at every level, wherever we are, across India, across globe. So those 45 young boys and girls deserve attention quickly. Number two, today is the anniversary of Parliament attack. It happened in 2001, and tributes to men and women who were in uniform or in civilian on civilian duty, who fell victim to that terror attack. Those martyrs, we pay tributes to them. Now, connecting your question with that, 2001 Parliament attack came because it was part of the same Kashmir Jihad. The principal protagonists of that terror attack were from Kashmir. Afzal Guru and Professor Gilani, they were the principal protagonists of that terror attack that happened. It was not just a terror attack, it was an act of war, right? So when you attack the Parliament of India, you are attacking actually the heart of India, the core of India, in the constitutional temple of India you attack. So what happened later on? Afzal Guru was from Kashmir, so there's a link directly. So they are not, Kashmir Jihad is not restricted to Kashmir alone. As I say, I repeat, coming to your question, which I said I will try to respond in one go in a holistic manner. Kashmir Jihad is part of the same campaign, I repeat, that began 1,000 years ago, Ghazwa-e-Hind campaign, to capture Delhi, to capture Lal Killa, and that is being resurrected. 1947, they achieved, got almost half of India. They took away. Now they want to reach Delhi via Kashmir. So Kashmir Jihad is a war. So we have to understand that. Now, what happened in the context of 370? So what has happened after that in the context of jihad? See, you have to understand what was the situation before 26th of October 1947, when Maharaja Hari Singh acceded to India under a lawful, legitimate Instrument of Accession Act. So what was the condition? I think amongst all the states in the country that colonial India, whatever you call it, that Jammu, Kashmir and Ladakh state was the most progressive state out of all these princely states that time in the country. Can you imagine? In that army of Maharaja, 50% people were recruits were Muslims and 50% were Hindus. So there was never ever any complaint of religious persecution under Maharaja. So you have to understand. And what we did afterwards, after he acceded to the nation, So we accord to please for the Sheikh Abdullah, to please and his Islamist core ideas, we gift him this Article 370, the most regressive piece of constitutional arrangement that ever has been, that has come out of Indian Constitution, Article 370. And what did we do because of that? Because of that, you allowed a Pakistan, a full-fledged Pakistan flourish on the territory of India, on the secular territory of India, and leaving Kashmiri Hindus as hostages there, to be preserved there, to be controlled there, to be persecuted there, right under India's secular world. So there were attempts after this 35A and this 370 were introduced. They were earlier in 60s, there were attempts to militarize the movement for Azadi and all. They were Al-Fatah gang, but they were crushed. 1965, there was a huge infiltration. That infiltration was crushed. Now, what happened in 1989-90? Look, Lashkar-e-Taiba was founded in Kabul in 80s, long before we could even imagine that Kashmir Jihad is on the annual. It was founded in Kabul by none other than Osama bin Laden, Hafiz Sayed. It was funded by Osama bin Laden, and especially the agenda was Kashmir. Agenda was Kashmir. Lashkar-e-Taiba's agenda, I repeat, agenda was Kashmir. It was founded in Kabul by Osama bin Laden, funded by Osama bin Laden. So when we could not even imagine what was happening. But then, who were in Kashmir, especially the mainstream, they were part of it. Underground and the separatists were always part of it. But the mainstream were colluding. They were participating in England, trying to use the Indian constitution, the loopholes in the constitution, and the award that had received through Article 370 and 35A. They were using the same Indian constitution to destroy Indian control over Kashmir. And they gradually did it. And when 1989-90 happened, it didn't happen all of a sudden. It was part of a planned agenda. When you say the same Sheikh Mohammed Abdullah writes in his biography that Kashmiri Pandits are fifth columnists. What do you do by that one single sentence? Number one, you start a hate campaign against the Aborigine Kashmiri Hindus. Number two, you declare also in the same breath that India is an enemy territory, because fifth columnist can be only of an enemy state. You can't have a fifth columnist from a friendly state. So he declared in one go an Indian state, Indian intellectuals, Indian liberal, left, they ignored it till ultimately it led to the actual physical assault on Kashmiri Hindus in 1989-90. So I am coming back to what why do understand, why do we repeat? Kashmir is a Himalayan end of the Islamist arc that arises from Middle East, traverses Afghanistan, Pakistan. You have to remember it. And at one time, before this resurgent India movement began, and I tell you, we Kashmiri Hindus can take credit for it. We have gone to every nook and corner. Kashmir activists have gone to every nook and corner of India to inform the people of India that what if you compromise on Kashmir, it's a recipe for balkanization of India. Can you imagine at one time what was the narrative on Indian television channels? That Kashmir was a hanging fruit. Kashmir was a hanging fruit, and they thought if normalized. And what was on agenda? What was on agenda? Agenda was self-rule of PDP. Self-rule of PD means you were creating a Pakistan officially, like joint management and control of administration over Jammu, Kashmir, and Ladakh by India and Pakistan. And we allowed it to happen. And our election commission, our constitutional authorities give recognition to such a political party which envisages control of an enemy state on part of Indian state called Jammu, Kashmir, and Ladakh. Then you also had simultaneously happening, it was a competitive separatism prevailing in the so-called mainstream. That was greater autonomy. That means you had to have a visa system, and Lakhimpur again resurrected. This is what was happening. Now, everything was coming under the ambit of healing touch to those who perpetrated genocide on Kashmiri Hindus. Can you imagine the people who became sahibs on Indian televisions deserve to be hanged 30 years ago? Yasin Malik was addressed as sahib. I have been to seminars in Delhi where he was addressed by former chief justices of the High Court, Beta Yasin. And when we would raise our voice and we'll be thrown out, we'll be shunted out of the auditorium. This has been the fight. So when you say, what have we achieved in the last 30 years? Please trust yourself, take pride. You have saved Kashmir for India. If today, Narendra Modi's first tenure was almost the same. They were following the same pattern that successive governments in the past had been doing to do what? If you have to counter one faction of Islamist polity in Kashmir, you must create another equivalent, if not more toxic than that. That's what was still 2019. But 2019 changed everything. I give all the credit to Narendra Modi for showing that spine, that they have been doing it, because the situation now is very critical. Article 370, maybe for political rhetorical purposes, the representatives of BJP, I say when you talk about narratives, it's very important. I keep on telling these representatives of BJP, do not claim, do not shout from the rooftop that Article 370 is the answer to everything that India has been suffering from in Kashmir. With the abrogation of Article 370, the process of dismantling of Islamofascistic mindset that had been flourishing in Kashmir has just begun. It's in the contemporary sense, it's just 70 years old radicalization that you have to change. And it was across the social spectrum of Kashmir. It was across the political spectrum of Kashmir that there's something different. They are supremacists, they're exclusivists. So that process has begun. Only that. Development has nothing to do with 370, they can keep using it. But what India has on hand remains a military problem called Kashmir Jihad. You see, in 90s, when Taliban overran Kabul, you know what was the slogan that reverberated across Pakistan from the mosques of Pakistan, especially Jamaat mosque? It was, Hum Jashn Kabul mana chuke, chalo ab Kashmir chale, Kashmir chale. The Taliban were reared. They were brought up, they were reared, they were trained not only for Afghanistan. It was to dismantle that earlier so-called regimes of Afghanistan, but also to march to Kashmir after that. You saw how they treated the hijackers of that Indian Airlines flight that was hijacked to Kabul, Kandahar. You have to understand that. So the international aspect of Kashmir Jihad remains intact. And I think Indian government, I believe Indian government is responding to that. I don't know that after this, let me give another reference to it. You see, Indian nation in the name of Kashmir has been under the tremendous scrutiny of the world, especially the West, which includes America. And American State Department's interference in the Indian affairs in terms of Kashmir, we all know. I remember last time when Bill Clinton was here, I know when he was addressing the Joint Committee of Parliament, I have written about it. Every parliamentarian was on toes, awaiting, here comes a K word from Bill Clinton right in the Parliament of India. This is when Obama came to India. Even that time, we were so scared that this guy is going to utter the word of Kashmir right on the soil of India. So we have been under tremendous scrutiny of this State Department of America, and it continues to be there. There has been a lull because of Trump administration in the past 5 years, but I'm sure with the Joe Biden's electoral agenda to appease the Muslims, Islamists of America, the agenda was agenda for Muslim Americans, which included Kashmir. I'm so sad that Indian Americans still voted for Joe Biden, knowing that he's going to interfere in Kashmir.
Time constraints.
Okay, let me just conclude. Just another 10 seconds. So the challenges remain. I think government of India has to look into the concerns of global scrutiny. Narendra Modi, as it is the most scrutinized person of Indian politician in the world. They are trying to play safe. I know the operations against the terror are going on, but that is not the end of it. I am also being told, because I am part of certain panels where they talk about strategies. I think the strategy is to shift, and unless it is this real strategy, to shift the war theater of Kashmir Jihad across LOC, liberate Gilgit-Baltistan. We will never have azadi or freedom for Kashmir Jihad. It's going to bleed us. You have a lull here. It's a technical lull. It's not even technical. It's not even strategic lull. It's because you are controlling immensely those forces which are out to take to the guns, out to take to the stones again. So what you have to do is shift the war theater, and I think that will be 50% demotivation for this Gupkar gang, and also the people who deserve to be. And also, as Agnishekhar ji has told you, Indian government can use the major important element. recognize officially what Kashmiri Hindus suffered was genocide. Once you give that official recognition to the genocide, you have an opening of a route how to counter the genocide. When you reverse the genocide, you will have first on agenda how to destroy, how to dismantle the infrastructure of Kashmir.
Thank
I
you.
think they should be following that.
We have a second session of question and answer. I'm sure you will have other opportunities to respond and describe in detail other things. I have to move on, and my apologies for that. My third panelist today is Sri Sushil Pandit. Sushil ji is co-founder of Roots in Kashmir, an initiative to raise public awareness on reclaiming roots that identify Kashmiri Pandits. Mr. Pandit is a communications strategist by profession. In addition, Mr. Pandit is well-known Kashmiri activist and a scholar of Kashmiri conflict in India. He is one of the most sought-after political program panelists of Indian media and a guest speaker on the subject of Kashmir. Sushil ji has delivered numerous talks on Kashmir history and political developments and is a leading voice of Kashmiri Pandits living in exile. And he is also the editor of Prasnath, a quarterly journal on the culture and identity of Kashmir. Sushil ji, namaskar. As a scholar of history and a political commentator, what is your understanding of Government of India's initiatives that include Domicile Act, scrapping of the Roshni Act, and the recent land law changes? In your opinion, where will these lead us? Sushil ji.
Thank you, Sanjay ji. Namaskars to everyone. Your questions make things very easy for me, but at the same time, a little onerous because it straightaway involves the present day government. And we have, frankly, mixed feelings about this government. When I heard the earlier two panelists talk about jihad, talk about the continuation of the partition of India, continuation of our misery in Kashmir, and post-expulsion, continuation of our exile, I had long ago come to the conclusion that all our hopes and all our expectations from certain quarters were a little exaggerated, a little misplaced. And long ago, in one weak moment, I make this confession on my Facebook page that we are on our own. As Kashmiri Pandits, as Hindus of the Valley, we must no longer keep waiting for something that's never going to happen. But few things keep happening from time to time. August 5, 2019 was perhaps the biggest aberration that happened in this continuum. Something amazing happened, and this is simply indescribable. It was so deeply felt and so incredibly rejoiced at that I can't find words to express, because I had never thought in my lifetime I would see neutering of Article 370 and dismantling of the state of Jammu and Kashmir into 2 union territories. But trust me, except for these two things that have happened, nothing has changed. And these two huge interventions have been an aberration I had hoped that there would be a course correction. I had sincerely hoped that we would make a U-turn. But this so far has turned out merely a pause. Pause in our relentless march towards our destruction. Because what followed is something that I must tell you gives me the reason to believe that we are still steadily heading towards an abyss. What has happened? August 5 was nothing short of declaring a war on jihad. Call it 1,000-year-old jihad, centuries-old jihad, decades-old jihad, militant jihad, non-violent jihad, but jihad it was. It kept changing its face, it kept changing its tactics. In Kashmir, it called itself Raishumari Mahaz, or the Plebiscite Front, till 1975. In 1975, when Mrs. Gandhi restored Sheikh Abdullah in power, he changed gears. He wound up Raishumari Mahaz. He dismantled his front, Plebiscite Front, and started some kind of a cohabitation with Jamaat-e-Islami, which was his sworn enemy. And he threw open the state school education system to Jamaati cadre as teachers. What you saw in the late 80s was the harvest of those 15 years of Jamaati cultivation. They cultivated an entire generation of Kashmiris in state schools, government schools, turned them into the most poisonous, the most vehement haters of India. People say that 1987 rigged elections was the trigger. Then why did you see in 1983 the one-day match between India and West Indies turn into almost like a war? The West Indians said, we don't get this kind of support even back home. And Indians, let me tell you, Sunil Gavaskar, I met a few years later, said, I swore that day I will never go to Kashmir, and till date he has never stepped into Kashmir. Such was the treatment of Indian cricket team. We kid ourselves. We keep telling ourselves that, we are fighting a battle. No, we are not fighting a battle. The government of India, state of India is not fighting this battle. Parties have come and gone. Prime ministers have come and gone. Governments have come and gone of all hues, of all ideologies, of all kinds of coalitions. The consensus on Kashmir remained. And that consensus was that we need to win hearts and minds of jihadis. That consensus remains. And let me tell you, I was tempted to say the word authority. I am 100% confident on why Article 370 happened. We have a government which has a few IOUs to an organization headquartered in Nagpur. These IOUs are very specific. One of which is Ram Mandir. Another is Article 370. One more is Uniform Civil Code, or at least dismantling of the personal laws of a certain community that hangs by it as if the life depends on it, and asserts its domination by flouting Indian constitution and flaunting their personal laws as the assertion of their separateness. So to dilute these blatant challenges to Indian nationhood, quote unquote, certain IOUs have to be delivered on. And the central government has told this organization, you stay out of our way. You have these 2, 3, 4 agendas and we will deliver them. And then don't get into our way. We've got the mandate, we shall rule. I say this because I interact with some of the very senior people. I'm not saying this to drop names or to claim some kind of proximity. I'm saying this for the sake of clarity so that I don't have to keep explaining as to where do I know this, how do I deduce this, why do I say this. I say this on authority. Now, if that is happening, why we see Dhak ke teen path or back to square one happening is because government is back to its old ways. After symbolically, after ritually delivering on some of these pet peeves, they have been reduced to boxes to be tick marked. You and I think that this is a change of course. Sorry. This is saying, now here is your toy, now keep shut. Don't make noise. You wanted 370 done, we've done it. You wanted us to deliver on Ram Mandir, we've done it. Now let us handle the things, the governance, the issues, the priorities on our own. And don't mess with us. So what has happened? Article 370's most pernicious provisions stage a comeback in another name called domicile. What you do with domicile is create a huge barrier for rest of India in the state of Jammu and Kashmir by saying only those who have lived there for at least 15 years will qualify to be the permanent citizens or the domicile citizens of the state. And domicile citizens of the state is no mean thing. All the jobs in the state through the state government and its PSUs are the sole preserve of those citizens of the state, call it the residents of the state, domiciles of the state. You've already heard what is happening with respect to the delimitation. Again, delimitation was a key demand because there was a rigged balance of power in favor of the valley. This was artificially engineered to keep the valley domination intact on the political front, and through that political front, on the economic front, on the socio-cultural front, on the front of discourse, on the sheer identity of Kashmir. And through this ritual delimitation, which is done on the basis of rigged 2011 census, they want to legitimize that rigged, tilted balance of power in the favor of valley, knowing very well that this delimitation will throw up the same result and perpetuate a status quo. But they are ticking the box and saying we have done the delimitation, and what do we do if delimitation restores that balance of power or the imbalance of power? Come to creating a new political party. The NDA one government's gift to Indian nation was PDP. Pandit Atal Bihari Vajpayee spent no less than 100 crores through the same dullat in order to create a party for Mehbooba Mufti and her father. Thinking that competitive democracy in the state of Jammu and Kashmir will probably, I don't know what this premise was based on, create a conducive atmosphere for democracy and end the monopoly of national conference and its capacity to seek a ransom from India every now and then. What they created was another monster and a competition between two monsters to see who gobbles up India and Indian state faster.
Sushil ji?
I would beg your indulgence for a few more minutes, sir. My problem is we can keep accusing jihad, we can keep accusing pan-Islamism, we can keep accusing history, we can keep accusing previous governments, Nehru's and Indira's and whoever else we want to. Unless and until we candidly agree that there is a consensus in our political class among our leaders not to change anything, and when they are seen to be changing drastically, undo those changes through the back door, and everyone is equally guilty. We shouldn't be eager in rushing with our gratitude, with our recognition, with our applause to those who are nothing but fooling us. Sir, Kashmiri Pandits, Kashmiri Hindus are nobody's people in Delhi. Please disabuse yourself of these illusions. Whatever they do is not because we stand to benefit. And I don't want them to do this because we stand to benefit. Do it for nation's benefit at least. Does this country, does our system ever take a hisab kitab, do a profit and loss analysis of what is our asset in the valley and what are our liabilities in the valley? Who are our friends in the valley and who are our enemies in the valley? What are our challenges in the valley and what are our opportunities in the valley? Until a brutal, candid analysis of this is done and Government of India, State of India chooses to do the right thing as opposed to doing the same thing, more of the same thing, over and over again, there will be no change, sir. In Kashmir, the doors have been slammed shut on our faces, under one garb or the other. Till yesterday, there was, if Mufti was given a new party, today a Bukhari has been given a new party. He has been funded and blessed. So you have created a third monster. While the first two monsters have organized themselves under Gupkar Declaration, the third one has collected the rejects and the discards of the first two and are now trying to create some kind of interest in democracy in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. Aren't we tired of trying the same thing over and over again with the same results coming out all over again? So for God's sake, kindly dump all illusions, because like in the case of farmers, Government of India decides what is good for them and proclaims it from the rooftops without engaging with them, without bringing them on board, without talking to the stakeholders. In case of Kashmiri Hindus also, government decides in its wisdom what is good for us, without engaging with anyone from the community, and issues it like a fiat, like some kind of a farman that we must lap up with gratitude and be indebted to them forever for doing these things. I think we must call an end to it. And if we have ever some more time, we can go through threadbare on these issues. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Sushilji. Thank you very much. That's always very educational to hear you and hear about all the facts that summarize the current situation in India and regarding Kashmir. My next panelist is Dr. Girdari Ban. Dr. Ban was born and brought up in Srinagar, Kashmir, and has been living in United Kingdom for many decades now, where he has worked for the NHS, from which he has since retired. He is associated with Kashmiri Pandit Association of United Kingdom, the Indo-European Kashmiri Forum, and with the Jammu and Kashmir Study Circle in UK. Dr. Ban, namaskar. You grew up in India before you came to the United Kingdom, so you well understand how the system worked in Kashmir. Then for the last 3 decades, through your service to Kashmiri Pandit Association and the Indo-European Kashmiri Forum, you have been closely associated with rebuilding of our refugee community back home in India. Having done so, from your experience and as a person looking at it from outside, please share with us your impression of the survival efforts of our community after its exodus from Kashmir, and what have been our achievements so far, if any. Dr. Ban.
Namaskar. I am humbled by my predecessors' eloquence. They dwelt on their pains and the frustration at not having achieved our goal up till now. And also on, I think, the potential threat on our culture. And that those are shared concerns all over, wherever we are. I have only a historical perspective on this issue as an outsider, as you mentioned. And everything that has been said in a way is shared because we heard what was happening there. We heard of the exodus. And I was told by my family, some of whom were in Jammu, but many of whom had at that time come across with the exodus, of how they had to sit in the sunshine in the hard courtyard of Shiv Mandir, Amphala Road, Jammu. And hardly anybody had an umbrella to protect them from the sun. How somehow or the other, tattered tents were acquired for them, how individuals came with the rescue of food and other basic necessities, and the non-presence, complete absence of any government resources for them. Those who are generous would say, oh, they were taken by surprise. But when you read the correspondence between Jagmohan and the government of India, you know that that's not true. I see nowadays campsites of refugees all over the world, and I'm amazed at how well refugees are provided. But there was nobody at that time for us. We were somehow the scums of the society who had no right to exist. I do remember then visiting over the next 2-3 years tents, settlements in different parts of Jammu city, Udhampur, Nagrota, Batalbalia, you name it. And the situation was the same there. I'll just take you within the next 4 or 5 minutes over my reminiscences, and there was no security. They were exposed to scorpions and snakes and social miscreants, and of course the vagaries of the weather. I remember in one of my visits, and I think it'll never go away from my memory. In one of the tents, I was met with by a frail old lady. She was in her 80s, and she was a 4 foot nothing. Dopen hai gobra andaras. Me dumas kya shikisi. Dopen patras se shukamat mon gar. Patras chai varai tim chankate. I didn't want to because she had nothing there except a stove. Magar tem chibano so chai, mogul chai banawi. Pehno nas tetni. Me to mas sikit ke aaya taite moji. Dopan bos gamas mas rozan taite. Taite ai me panin hamsaya mas zor kim te moj jan. Te mo dopam hatai dedi scenario. Kyohan area te dopas wai haken se wai. Ashchuni ijazat wanna se mati ech seta gadbad gasan wall. Yetsa ke madad gasi as demo isu. And so she left. And I can't forget that. So that's one thing. Then over the next 1 or 2 years, I saw little grocery shops coming up at the door flap of the tent. People were selling things they had bought from the town nearby and they were selling. And then educational institutions coming up where there was in the open air a little blackboard and children were being taught by one of the people, volunteers or whatever. And these are our basic priorities: food, existence, education. That was their number one necessity. And then the next time I came, I saw Wur, and I was amazed. Stand में तो मसी क्यों गई थी? दोपहर महाराष्ट्र ये थी किस लड़कस किस लड़की ते मुझ ने खानदार पगा ही क्या था कोई something like that. And we have to prepare food for the Baratis. So even in those horrible hell-like circumstances, humanity was still surviving. And that's the point I want to make, that we had that resilience. Where it came from, it's in our genes. After all, it wasn't the first exodus. And I think we were expecting Mashiad in 1947, 48, Il Kabul Red Pitaji. I was very tiny at that time. I remember this, that Sorigund, the Saman Sorigund, you don't know at what time we'll have to leave. So we've been living from that time onwards throughout my youth with that. And the picture has been painted by the earlier speakers. And so what happened was not entirely unexpected. We were living in an artificial environment at the mercy of the governing people. And what happened. We can understand it, we can explain it, but we mustn't dwell on it. We have to look forward. And so I remember now I'm talking as a man from the UK, from England. I remember the narrative promoted by people with vested interests, and it was a narrative of Kashmiri Muslims. We didn't exist in that. We did not exist in that. The media was deaf, the politicians were deaf, and to a large extent that state continues even today, and we mustn't dwell on that. I mean, I also remember the positive things. Many people, individuals came to help, and that's part of the reason why we have most of us did survive. And at that time, the role played by people like Balasaheb Thackeray, who offered educational places for our youngsters for higher education, and many of them are doing well. Must never forget that. And so there were people who were unsympathetic towards us, unhelped to us, but there were others who did help in whatever little way they did. And I think we must never forget that. So the aid we provided at that time is not worth mentioning. We gave them beds and beddings and educational aids and then subsequently financial aid, but I'm also aware that a lot more was done by Kashmiri Hindus in the United States and also in other parts of India. And I think we mustn't forget that also, because we were taken unawares. We didn't have had any prior warning. We would have been prepared for it. We didn't have any training of how to engage with media. Up till then, it was just a question of reading the paper, not knowing there is an industry behind it, that the media people have their own bellies to fill and their own vested interests and their own biases. And now we are a little bit, I'm not talking me, I'm talking of the community, better now at dealing with the media, better at dealing with the politicians. I think the situation is a bit better now. the politicians are more listening to us, not because they are inherently kind to us, but because we matter. And they're beginning to realize that. The media is also at this time, because of the political climate, more conducive and more responsive to the Hindu concerns. So this environment is changing. And unlike my predecessors who showed their seething frustration, which I share, I am also optimist that things will slowly improve. It's not something that's going to happen at the touch of a button, waving a magic wand that somehow the whole thing will be resolved within the next few days. We're talking of many years to come. The political process happens to be slow, but I think the environment is different. The winds of change have come. And my other point is that we have to further strengthen a dialogue. And I know Sushilji mentioned that there is virtually no dialogue at this time. I don't know how you can do it. It's only up to you people in Delhi and Jammu and so on to further strengthen that political dialogue with the government and engage with the media and, announce that you are a stakeholder. I think that voice has to be heard. I think your presence has to be there within, so no policies can be made unless they have been approved by you. I'm appalled when Sushilji says that they have not taken us into confidence, that they have ignored us completely in making a recent policy in August last year, followed by retraction. We should have been part of that policy making, and you will have further comments to receive now, and then of course comments from other delegates, and I would love to hear what their views are. I will stop there.
Thank you, Dr. Ban. This was very informative. As you rightly said, when we were forced out of Kashmir, we ended up in other parts of the country without even an umbrella. And the struggles that the community had to go through have been very tough, but despite all the difficulties, we have been able to survive. Survive because of our resilience, because of our determination to survive, and because of the values that we have from ages. And we have worked hard, and Mata Sharda has been on our side, and education has been our weapon. And we have been able to educate our children and stand on our feet over the last 3 decades. Thank you very much for that description. Now my next panelist is Pintuji Pandita. Pintuji is what I call a ground zero social and cultural activist. Originally from Kashmir, at present he is based in Jagti refugee camp located near Nangrota, Jammu. Currently he is serving as the president of Global Solace, an NGO, and is also the National General Secretary of Vishwa Kashmir Samaj. He works tirelessly to help poor refugee children with their educational needs, getting the girls from the camps married, and he serves the old and destitute camp residents. He is instrumental in creating awareness programs about the drug abuse that has made inroads into the refugee families in these camps. He has organized medical camps. He has organized counseling to youth and children. He has organized job-oriented courses, sports, and many other social activities and services for the refugees. He's done a lot of work on the ground. Pintuji, namaskar and welcome. Being a refugee and a camp resident, you have first-hand experience of what it means to be a refugee in your own country. You are very active within the camp and also work closely with major organizations and the representatives of the community from various parts of the world. I have a 3-part question for you. What is the condition of the camp dwellers in general? What do you think are the concerns, their main concerns, and what do they hope for? Can you throw some light on it? Pintuji Pandita. Pintuji, can you unmute yourself?
I promoted him to the panelist, but he's now not even in the attendees. He was in the attendees a minute ago.
Is Dr. Ajay Srangu there?
Yeah, I see him.
While we wait for Pintuji, can we move on to Dr. Ajay Srangu? Is he in the panel?
Yeah, he is.
Ajay ji, are you there? While we wait for Pintuji to join, I will move on to you, Ajay ji.
He's not unmuting, or he's okay. He's on.
Okay. Dr. Ajay Srangu is the chairman of Panun Kashmir, a political movement of Kashmiri Pandits founded as a result of the forced exodus and genocide of Kashmiri Hindus from Kashmir in 1990. Dr. Srangu is a political analyst on Jammu and Kashmir affairs and a freelance writer on human rights and terrorism. Ajay ji, namaskar. I know that December 28th is going to be observed and has been observed in past as the Homeland Day by Kashmiri Hindus. It is no secret that Hindus have faced genocide in Kashmir and then denial of genocide by successive governments over the years. Please tell us about the need to recognize the rights of the Aborigines of Kashmir. What is the Kashmiri Hindu community aspiring for? And what is your vision of a permanent settlement of Kashmiri Hindus back in Kashmir? Ajay ji.
Okay, just a second. I'll give me. I was traveling. I hope you are.
Yeah, we are able to hear you and we are able to see you. Yes.
Okay. I was just traveling, so it was little just settling. Give me just a few minutes. Okay. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are. Please go ahead.
So the question you have put to me.
Do you want me to repeat?
No. Broadly, I have understood it. It's a very loaded set of questions, and I will try to answer it as briefly as it is possible.
Sure.
And I think the present contemporary reality that has to be summed up. The present reality of J&K state is that what we consider the legal edifice of the Muslim state of Jammu and Kashmir on the territory of India, that legal edifice has been removed. We always considered 370 and 35A as basically the legal edifice of a Muslim state on the territory of secular India, which was being projected as the hallmark of Indian secularism. That edifice, the structure which created this, Article 370 and 35A, does not stand. The second thing, the state of Jammu and Kashmir no longer exists now. It has been divided, and we have now in its place 2 union territories. So from the very beginning of this change, Panun Kashmir described the removal of Article 370 and 35A as a liberating act for the people of Jammu and Kashmir, because we believe that on 1947, when India became independent after the Holocaust of partition, the people of Jammu and Kashmir, and particularly the Hindus of Jammu and Kashmir, were subjected to the servitude of a Muslim state of Jammu and Kashmir. So it was the day of enslavement, which continued for 70 long years. Now that's why we described it as a liberating act. We also described it as an act which was a decolonizing act. J&K state existing as a special status state on the territory of India was basically a Muslim state, a Pakistan on the territory of India. And this was basically the legacy of the colonial and imperialist past. So while the entire world got decolonized and the decolonized countries started expressing their democracy and their will forthrightly,
Indian state continued to be wearing the albatross of an imperialist colonialist past, which Article 370 represented. But having said that, we at that time said that if the de jure structure um, of the Muslim state has been dismantled, the de facto structure of it still stands. It stands in the form of the internal administrative decisions taken over the years, last 70 years. It stands because of the formulations of the government to handle this type of a state over the years. It stands, and the de facto Muslim states still exists because in the form of the proclivities of the political class of India, who want to patronize Muslim communalism. And they think that patronizing Muslim communism and empowering Muslim communalism is secularism. And this malignant and this very vicious proclivity still exists across the entire spectrum of the political class of India, including the BJP leadership. And then it stands in terms of habits, attitudes, in terms of convenience of the administrative setup. And most precisely, it stands what I call is halfway separatist governance. For the last 70 years, J&K was being run through halfway separatists. And running J&K through halfway separatism was destructive to the nationalists, to the Hindus of Kashmir, to those Muslims of Kashmir who wanted to be with India, to the Hindus of Jammu, to the Buddhists of Ladakh, and to the Muslims and Sikhs of the state who would like to be with India. It was destructive to all of them. And that halfway separatism still exists. So that is why it was a liberating act. Now, what has happened on 5 August 2019 was that a possibility has been created. That a great possibility has been created. And we think that after taking this wonderful step, a revolutionary step, Indian state has again relapsed into the same sickness. Again relapsed into the same, which I call as a obsessive compulsive neurosis, the same obsession, the same compulsion, the same neurotic reactions, which have been reflected in the form of hastily, without disjointedly creating a domicile law, declaring a delimitation based on 2000 fraudulent 2011 census, then again overloading the discourse on J&K, government discourse, overloading of the government discourse on J&K by being specifically Kashmiri Muslim centric, keeping Jammu as a blind spot, keeping Kashmiri Hindus as a blind spot, keeping all the nationalist segments within the Muslims as a blind spot. So that type of a thing is there, and we are dealing with this type of a situation. So we have 3 challenges. One challenge is how to appreciate the Modi government's revolutionary steps without compromising the critique of the worst type of measures which were taken post 5 August. How to do it? The second challenge is how to criticize BJP without helping Congress, because I strongly believe that Congress has become a Muslim League and BJP is becoming a Congress. Now, this type of a vicious political equation exists. How can we do it? The third thing is that how can Kashmiri Pandits position their predicament, their plight, their aspirations in a way that they serve the nation, they serve the global peace, and they deliver them from a situation in which they have been for a long time kept hostage. Now, these are the challenges. How do we do it? And that's what we are grappling with. And post 5 August, 2-3 things were done by Jammu Kashmir, specifically at a very political level, in an area, in a time when there was a pandemic, the first thing was that we formally drafted the bill on genocide and presented to the government. We told them that since they have already accepted genocide has taken place, while banning JKLF and explaining the ban on JKLF, Government of India very formally communicated that JKLF was responsible for the genocide. JKLF was certainly one of the main actors of which inflicted genocide, but there were other things also. The genocidal process was a far wider process, and we wanted Government of India to recognize it. And we did not want Government of India to recognize it only for the sake of Kashmiri Pandits. The jihad had spilled over to Jammu, and the impending genocidal processes were very visible. There were attempts to ultimately religiously cleanse Doda, Kishtwar, Bhadrwa, the Muslim majority areas of Jammu, from the presence of Hindus. Then we were also aware what happened to the Hindus in POJK. They were also subjected to genocide, and they were living as second-class citizens on the soil of India. They were not accommodated as full-fledged citizens of this nation. And not only that, we knew that 23% of the population of Muslims was left in Pakistan. And it was almost hostage to the state of Pakistan, which was committed to the ultimately to proselytize them, and in case they don't proselytize, become Muslims, destroy them. So we brought out this bill, gave it to the Prime Minister. We still hope that they will look into it, because unless the 1,000-year-old continuous ongoing genocide against Hindus stops, there'll be no redemption for India. The second thing which we have very categorically stated is that the neutralization of Article 370 has made it possible to ultimately think about Jammu and Kashmir in a very different way. The state of India, through its policies, allowed the Indian presence in Kashmir to be destroyed. Now, if India has to return to Kashmir, then Indian state has to think in terms of a geopolitical foothold in the valleys. There is no concept available other than the Pan Kashmir, creation of a union territory. Now, the reorganization of the state, annulling of its previous constitution, and neutralization of Article 370 has made it possible, legally possible. It is strategically critical. It is strategically an imperative for the state of India. It is, from an existential point of view, the only option, the only survival option for Kashmiri Pandits. And at the same time, creation of Pan Kashmir is the only way to start reversing the jihadi expansion into India through the route of Kashmir. Now, having said that, we are very clear that now creation of Pan Kashmir. You see, in the bill, in the Union Territory Bill, there is an allusion to the fact that it can be subsequently created into a state. But implicit in this is that now the J&K state can be reorganized. It can be further reorganized. There is a necessity. There is a necessity to divide Kashmir and create a union territory of Pan Kashmir, north and east of River Jhelum, and that will be the only way of reversing the genocide inflicted on Kashmiri Hindus. So, recognizing the genocide bill, starting the process of reversal of genocide, not a cosmetic return, and creating a geopolitical foothold for the rehabilitation of Kashmiri Hindus is very critical for Kashmiri Hindus, for the Hindus of Jammu and Kashmir, for defeating the jihad, and ultimately for building separatism, Muslim separatism full of stakes, because globally Islamist separatism has been using the democratic space and trying to destroy the democratic domains from within. This will be the beginning of that. Last but not the least, which I want to say, is on 28th, as you have already mentioned, and I thank you for that, we are having the Homeland Day on 28th. And I think that this program provides me an opportunity to invite all to be part of that webinar. Pan Kashmir is dealing with the things at multiple layers. With whatever human resources available to us, we're trying to address it at a geopolitical level. We are trying to address it within the framework of the existing politics in the nation of India, existing politics in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, and then from the perspective of the requirements of the Kashmiri Hindu community. I want to tell you that this is an integral relationship between the immediate survival needs of the community and the long-term survival needs of the community.
Thank you, Mara. Thank you, Ajay.
So thank you for inviting me, and I have tried to be very brief and very precise in trying to address the question which you addressed to me. Thank you.
I want to get back to Pintuji Pandita. We missed him earlier. Pintuji, as I said, is a ground zero social and cultural activist, and he's done a lot of work at the camp for the camp residents. And Pintuji, I want to reiterate my question, which is, what is the condition of the camp dwellers in general? What do you think are the concerns of the people living in these camps, and what do they hope for? Pintuji, please.
नमस्कार महाराज सर, नमस्कार सान्यन जी, मैं आपका बहुत धन्यवाद करता हूँ सर। ऑफ एंड ऑन आप हमारे मसाइल, ये प्रॉब्लम्स है, इश्यूज आप रेज करते रहते हैं और अपनी कम्युनिटी की जो प्रॉब्लम्स है उनको हाईलाइट करने की कोशिश करते हैं। जो हमारे कैंप की कंडीशंस है, जो आपने मुझसे प्रश्न पूछा, मैं खुद कैंप में रह रहा हूँ इस वक्त। जब हम श्रीनगर कश्मीर से निकल कर आ गए, कश्मीर मिलिटेंट की वजह से, थ्रेट की वजह से, तो हम पहले जेडी में रहती थी, टेंट में। तो मैंने खुद कैंप लाइफ देखी है। पहले हम टेंटों में रहते थे, उसके बाद छोटे कमरों में आ गए, उसके बाद जगती में आए। मैं उन सब चीज़ों का आई विटनेस हूँ। जब हम टेंटों में रहते थे, वहाँ पर स्नेक बाइट्स हो गई, सनस्ट्रोक हो गई, लोग बेचारे किस तरह, हमारे बुजुर्ग लोग मर गए गर्मी की वजह से, हीट की वजह से। उसके बाद हम छोटे कमरों में आ गए, 10 बाय 12 के कमरे में रहे। वहाँ पर हमारी माँ, बहन, भाई, बच्चे, बीवी सब इकट्ठे रहते थे। वहाँ पर जो हमारा तहजीब तमद्दुन था, जो हमारी डिस्टेंस रहती थी अपने घरों में, श्रीनगर में, जो हम एक दूसरे से हया पर्दा करते थे, वहाँ से वो एक छोटे से कमरे में, जहाँ पिजन होल जैसा लगता था, वहाँ से हम हमारे उस ट्रेडिशन कल्चर जो भी हमारा है वहाँ पर इरोड होने लगा। उसके बाद हम यहाँ जगती में आ गए, यहाँ दूसरे कैंपों में आ गए। मैं आपको ये बताना चाहता हूँ कि ये जो हमारे मुट्ठी है, पुरकू है, मिस्ट्रीवाल, ये जगती है या नगरोटा कैंप है, यहाँ पर कोई 6000 के करीब फैमिलीज रहती है हमारे इन कैंपों में। ये जो हमारे कैंप हैं, ये फेस ऑफ द माइग्रेशन। अगर कहीं से भी हमें पता चलता, कोई भी डेलीगेशन आता है, कहीं से भी कश्मीरी पर्दू के लिए बोलने के लिए आते, उनके साथ संपर्क करने के लिए वो डायरेक्ट इन कैंपों में आते, क्योंकि बिकॉज वी आर द फेस ऑफ द माइग्रेशन। यहाँ पर ये हमारा समुदाय ज्यादा, जो कंसंट्रेशन ऑफ कश्मीरी पंडित से एक ही जगह है, वो इन कैंपों में रहते हैं। यहाँ पर ही हम अपने कल्चर को, सिविलाइजेशन को, ट्रेडिशन को, लैंग्वेज को, आइडेंटिटी को बचा पा रहे हैं, अपनी कश्मीरी लैंग्वेज को बचा पा रहे हैं। कश्मीरी जो हमारा जो हमारा सब कुछ है, कश्मीरी पर्दू का जो जिसे हम जाने जाते हैं, वो इन कैंपों में पाया जाता है। और हाँ, हम ही वो उस चीज को रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं। जब आप क्या मुझे सुन पा रहे हैं? हेलो?
जी। यस।
जब मैं आप सभी लोगों को आमंत्रित करता हूं कि आप कभी आज टाइम है, जिस तरह डॉक्टर अग्नि शेखर जी है, हमारे अजय जी हैं, ये सारे कैंपों का दौरा करते रहते हैं। आप यहाँ पर कभी IIT बनकर, और यहाँ कैंप में जो लोग रह रहे हैं, आप उनकी हालत देखिए, उनके साथ क्या हो रहा है, वो कितने बीमार लोग यहाँ पर है, यहाँ पर क्या कंडीशंस है, यहाँ पर क्या हेल्थ की प्रॉब्लम्स है, यहाँ पर हमारे जो बुजुर्ग लोग रहते हैं उनकी हालत कैसी है, यहाँ पर जो छोटे छोटे बच्चे रहते हैं वो क्या कर रहे हैं, वो क्या कह रहे हैं, उनकी फरियाद है, उनके जहन में क्या चीज है अपने समाज को लेकर। जहाँ तक जब हम कैंप के में रहने वाले लोगों की परेशानियों की बात करते हैं, यहाँ जब जगती में हम आ गए, यहाँ पर शुरुआत में पानी की परेशानी थी। उस पानी की परेशानी की वजह से वो हमारे बहुत सारे लोगों में किडनी फेलियर हो गया, लिवर फेलियर हो गया। बार बार हमने सरकार से ये चीजें सरकार के साथ डिस्कस किया, लेकिन आज तक भी वो कोई हमारे मसलों का हल नहीं हुआ। उसके साथ साथ जब हम हर एक घर में जाते हैं, आपको ये आप सारे लोग ये जानते हैं कि कश्मीरी पंडित जो कैंप में रहते हैं, खासकर कैंप, आपने मुझे कैंप से बोलने के लिए, कैंप की कंडीशन के लिए कहा, ये जो हमारे यहाँ पर लोग रहे गरीब तबके से ताल्लुक रखते हैं। ये 13,000 रिलीफ जो हमें सरकार दे रही है, इसी रिलीफ में आप सभी को पता है कि हर एक घर में एक एक बीमार है, एक एक कश्मीरी पंडित घरों में बीमार है। इन 13,000 में हमने दवाई 2-4 हजार रुपए का इंतजाम करना होता है, बच्चों की फीस, बच्चों की किताबें, बच्चों की वर्दी, बच्चों का खाना पीना, अपने घर का खाना पीना, और जो डे टू डे जो नीड्स होती है उस चीज का हमें मतलब इन 13,000 में से करना पड़ता है। और जो यहाँ पर जो होना चाहिए था सरकार की लेवल पर, जो सरकार को करना चाहिए था, जिसमें सरकार बिल्कुल फेल हो चुकी है। खाली बातें करते हैं, गार्डन दिखाते हैं, हमें सब्ज बाहर दिखाते हैं, लेकिन प्रैक्टिकल में जब हम बात करते हैं तो यहाँ पर जीरो हमें दिखाई देता है। अभी आप लोगों ने ये सभी बातों ने सभी वक्त में बात कर रहे थे अपने समाज के कल्चर के, ट्रेडिशन के, दूसरी चीजों के बारे में। मैं आपके ये नोटिस में लाना चाहता हूँ, इस हमारे कैंपों में क्या क्या होना चाहिए जिससे हमारे बच्चों को ये एनकरेजमेंट मिले। यहाँ पर कोई ऐसे कोचिंग सेंटर नहीं है, जबकि कोई 20 किलोमीटर जम्मू से दूर है। यहाँ पर इस तरह की व्यवस्था होनी चाहिए, कोचिंग सेंटर होना चाहिए, ताकि हमारे जो बच्चे, हमारी जो बेटियां, उनको शाम को लेट ना आना पड़े। अच्छा, अभी जो अब पिछले 8 साल से गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने जितनी भी स्कीम्स पूरे हिंदुस्तान में लागू की, उनमें से कोई भी स्कीम आज तक इस हमारे कश्मीरी पंडितों के लिए, खासकर कैंपों में जहाँ कंसंट्रेशन ऑफ कश्मीरी पंडित, जहाँ सरकार व्यवस्था क्रिएट कर सकती है, जहाँ सरकार बहुत सारे बच्चों को ये स्किल डेवलपमेंट के लिए तैयार कर सकते हैं, आज की डेट में कश्मीरी पंडित पर कोई स्किल डेवलपमेंट हो या कोई भी मोदी जी की ये जो दूसरी स्कीम है, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया की स्कीम है, कोई इम्प्लीमेंट नहीं हुई। हमने बार बार बहुत सारे, मैंने खुद प्रोग्राम्स यहाँ पर ऑर्गेनाइज किए, मैंने खादी विलेज इंडस्ट्री कमीशन के चेयरमैन को भी यहाँ पर बुलाया, बहुत सारे अवेयरनेस प्रोग्राम्स किए, बैंक लोन्स के लिए प्रोग्राम्स किए, हेल्थ के लिए बहुत सारे प्रोग्राम्स किए, लेकिन जब इम्प्लीमेंटेशन की बात आती है तब सरकार हमें और कुछ चीजें, ये लाओ, ये प्रूफ होना चाहिए, वो प्रूफ होना चाहिए, ये प्रूफ होना चाहिए, उस पर और हम उस वक्त डिसअपॉइंट हो जाते हैं। इस चीज के लिए हमें स्ट्रगल करनी पड़ेगी, हमें इकट्ठे मिलकर काम करना पड़ेगा। और जहां तक हम फिर हमारे यहाँ पर कैंप में ये हेल्थ प्रॉब्लम को लेकर चलते हैं, आपको ये सरप्राइज होगा कि जब आप कैंप में आएंगे, हर एक घर में आपको कोई न कोई बीमार मिलेगा। हर एक एरिया में जो भी जहां भी कैंप में, चाहे कैंसर की प्रॉब्लम है, चाहे किडनी फेलियर हो, चाहे कोई चीज लिवर की प्रॉब्लम हो, ये कैंप में ये गरीब लोगों में पाया जाएगा। यहाँ पर हम आपके इस हमारे कैंपों में रिलीफ पर कितना हम डिपेंडेंट रहेंगे। और जो बहुत बड़ा तबका है जो इस माइग्रेशन में इफेक्ट हो गया है, उसके लिए जो मैं था 13-14 साल का, मैं कश्मीर में था, या 13-14 साल लेकर 25 साल तक जो कश्मीर से निकल कर आ गया दूसरे भारत के दूसरे हिस्सों में या इधर कैंपों में रह रहे ओवर एज यूथ, वो बेचारे जो उनका परिवार है, किसी का 1 बच्चा है, किसी का 2 बच्चे है, खाली रिलीफ पे डिपेंडेंट है, उन बेचारों से पूछिए आप, उनका आप देख लीजिए, वो मेंटली डिस्टर्ब हो गई है, वो मेंटली बेचारे कन्वर्शंस में है, उनको सोर्स ऑफ इनकम कहीं से है नहीं। वो जो तबका, वो जो बहुत बड़ा चंक है, वो जिसका कैरियर इस माइग्रेशन में खत्म हो गया, जिसका कैरियर इस 30 साल में बर्बाद हो गया, उसके लिए सरकार ने क्या सोचा? आज तक जितने भी हमने बहुत सारे ये प्रोग्राम्स किए, ओवर एज यूथ जो इस वक्त मर रहा है बेचारा, उसके लिए मेरी यही आप सभी लोगों से प्रार्थना है कि सरकार से ये चेकअप करे ये मसला, उनको कम से कम कंपनसेशन मिलना चाहिए 5-10 लाख रुपए का, ताकि वो स्मॉल स्केल यूनिट्स यहाँ पर लगाए, ताकि वो छोटे छोटे बिजनेस कर सके, अपनी टांगों पर खड़ा हो जाएंगे, अपने बच्चे परिवार को, बच्चों को वो उनको कुछ अच्छी शिक्षा दे, उनको अच्छी तरह से उनकी रहन सहन का वो करे। वो मेंटली बेचारे जो इस तरह इस एज ग्रुप में मेंटली डिप्रेस्ड हो गए हैं, इस तरह के चीजों को हमने देखना है। और एक बात जो हम इन कैंपों में पाए जाते हैं, जैसे कि संजय जी ने बोला, यहाँ पर ये पहले जब हम कैंपों में रहते थे, छोटे छोटे कैंपों में रहते थे, वहाँ हमारी कोई जगह नहीं थी, इतना खुला मैदान भी नहीं था, खुली जगह भी नहीं थी। अब इन कैंपों में आ गई तो थोड़ी सी खुली जगह है, लेकिन हमें हर चीज से गवर्नमेंट ने डिप्राइव किया है। अभी हाँ, मैंने बहुत बार ये मसला उठाया सरकार से भी, जिसमें किरण वातल जी ने हमें बहुत हेल्प की गवर्नमेंट मिशनरी तक, क्योंकि उनका अपना पर्सनल अप्रोच है वहां पर ऑफिसरों को पूछने के लिए। हम चाहते हैं कि यहाँ एक स्पोर्ट्स क्लब हो जाए। हमारे बच्चों को वहाँ जगह नहीं मिलती, यहाँ पर थोड़ी सी जगह है। अगर यहाँ पर स्पोर्ट्स एक्टिविटी हमने शुरू की, अभी 2 महीने पहले मेरे पास बहुत सारे बच्चे आए, उन्होंने बोला पिंटू जी आप इतना हेल्प करते हैं लोगों के लिए, हम स्पोर्ट्स खेलना चाहते हैं। जिस तरह हमारी छोटी बेटी, हमारी बहन अंकिता रैना जी नेशनल प्लेयर, इंटरनेशनल प्लेयर बन गई, हमें भी वो चीजें, हमें वो काबिलियत हमें भी, हम भी खेलना चाहते हैं यहाँ पर स्पोर्ट्स एक्टिविटी। तो मैंने किरण जी से कहा सर इस तरह बात है, तो किरण जी ने तुरंत मेरी बात को माना और हाँ हमने कुछ आइटम्स, स्पोर्ट्स आइटम्स यहाँ पर डिस्ट्रीब्यूट की। इस चीज से हमें सरकार ने डिप्राइव किया। इन सपोर्ट्स एक्टिविटी यहाँ पर चलाने के लिए इसमें 2 है, एक तो हमारे बच्चे मेंटली फिजिकली बहुत अच्छा रहेंगे, ठीक रहेंगे, गतिविधि होगी, और दूसरा जो सबसे बड़ा इसका इम्पैक्ट पड़ेगा कि हमारे बच्चे कहीं गलत रास्ते पर ड्रग एब्यूज में ना चले जाए, उनको हम यहाँ पर एंगेज करें। अभी हमने जब जिन बच्चों को सपोर्ट्स आइटम के लिए हेल्प की, वो कोई 100 बच्चे यहाँ पर आज शाम को खेलते हैं। हमारी बेटियां, हमारे छोटे छोटे बच्चे, हमारी महिलाएं, हमारे नौजवान लोग शाम को 2-3 घंटे वहां पार्क में खेलते हैं, और दिल खुश हो जाता है कि ये जो बच्चे हैं कहीं दूसरी चीजों पर ना लगे, और यहाँ पर ये हमारे इसमें। दूसरी बात यह है कि जिस तरह मैं हालत के बारे में मैं कुछ चीजों के लिए बहुत ही, अभी हमारे कैंपों में कुछ ऐसी भी बहुत सारी फैमिलीज है जिनके बारे में हमने सोचना पड़ेगा। जैसे संजीव जी ने कहा कि क्यों मुझे कैंप की कंडीशन के बारे में बोलना है, मैं कैंप इसलिए तो मैं समाज के दूसरी चीजों पर भी बात कर सकता था, क्योंकि मैं कैंप में रहने वाला हूँ, मैं कैंप की बात करूंगा। यहाँ पर कुछ ऐसी फैमिलीज है।
पिंटू जी, आई हैव टू स्टॉप यू, क्योंकि हमें टाइम की पाबंदी है। मैं समझता हूँ, आई कैन अंडरस्टैंड दैट देयर इज सो मच पेन एंड एग्नी इन द कम्युनिटी because we are refugees in our own country, and the height of the trouble is the fact that despite the genocide that we faced, despite being refugees, we are called migrants, like you were saying in your words कि migrant community है, और so many problems हैं जो कि address नहीं हो रही हैं। और जब तक कोई settlement ना हो कश्मीर इशू का और हमारी कम्युनिटी का कश्मीर में, तब तक आप जहाँ पे हैं वहीं पे आपका केयर करना है, हमने नेशन ने केयर करना है, हम सब ने केयर करना है, और उसके लिए गवर्नमेंट को और सब लोगों को इस कम्युनिटी का साथ देना है। आई कैन अंडरस्टैंड दैट, एंड थैंक यू सो मच फॉर expressing the feelings and the pain and the agony of our community who have been suffering for last 30 years in particular, but for last 700 years actually, जिसमें 7 बार exodus हुआ। और I want to conclude this first session where every panelist expressed their opinions and views with the community at large. And I want to now take a few questions that I have received. The first question I have is from LK Khandpal ji. He is writing, the question is, what is Modi government doing for the resettlement of Kashmiri Pandits? Has the repeal of Article 370 helped to solve Kashmir issue? Sushil ji, this is for you.
Can you please
repeat it? Okay, the question is from Mr. Khandpal. what is Modi government doing for the resettlement of Kashmiri Pandits, Kashmiri Hindus, and has the repeal of Article 370 helped to solve the Kashmir problem? Can you be very brief? I want to take few questions and go to most of the panelists.
Yes, Mr. Khandpalji, I'll be very brief. Modi government has done zero, zilch, cipher for the resettlement of Kashmiri Pandits in the valley of Kashmir so far. And whatever else it has done has actually made this distance longer and more treacherous for us to travel in the foreseeable future. That's the short and sweet answer.
Thank you, Sushilji. That was very, very brief. Thank you. I know you are respecting the time constraints. Thank you so much. My next question has come from VK Chandanji from Canada. He is asking that Mirpur, Muzaffarabad and other areas of Jammu and Kashmir state were forcibly taken by Pakistan in 1947. The genocide of Hindus is a continuation of the same Islamization campaign. Mr. Ambardar, this is a question for you. He is asking, is it in the interest of India to go for these annexed areas of the state?
I just said in my presentation that if India has to claim independence and azadi from Kashmir Jihad, we have to shift this war theater across LOC and then also start our strategic campaign as targets liberation of Gilgit-Baltistan, which is very easy because the people of that place are with us, and also liberate all these places. Because unless you bleed Pakistan the way it has been bleeding us for the past 7 years, we cannot do it. And also don't forget, he's talking about Mirpur, Kotli, the massacre of Hindus that happened on before the arrival of Indian Army in Jammu and Kashmir. We have not addressed that at all. The whole occupied Jammu, Kashmir and Ladakh was cleansed of Hindus and Sikhs till our army arrived, and also the Baramulla. We have not addressed. Instead of that, what we did, we rewarded the perpetrators with Article 370 and 35A. So I think that they become strategically important for us. They become very strategically important for India to fight against the menace of expansionist jihad war.
Thank you, Lalit. I am so appreciative of the panelists being so brief. I know these questions would demand a longer answer, but thank you for being so precise and articulate. My next question has come from Mr. Ajay Shah. Ajay ji is asking that a Kashmiri Muslim is setting up a Kashmiri museum near Niagara Falls in United States of America. And he doesn't see this as a positive action. So what is being thought of or what is being done to have some memory of what has happened in terms of the atrocities to the Kashmiri Hindu community? I would ask Dr. Agni Shekhar to respond. Dr. Saab, are you there?
Hello.
Agni ji, आप हैं वहाँ पे? Unmute कीजिए.
I don't see him.
Okay.
I think we lost him.
Okay. Ajay ji, are you there? Can you take this question on?
No.
Once again. Please repeat the question.
The question is
Hello.
that a Kashmiri Muslim is setting up a museum near Niagara Falls in America. Is something like that being thought of by the Hindus about what has happened to their community?
You see, thinking of a museum outside the country or inside India, it's a hello.
Yes,
are you
we
listening?
Yeah. Okay.
It is a necessity. It is a necessity, but it has to be done so that it becomes a permanent feature. So the information and the all other aspects of it, more or less, they are available, but the resources which are required for such a venture, so far as Kashmiri Hindus are concerned, perhaps at this stage, they need to be raised, and we have to think in that terms. So far as the building of museum by the Kashmiri Muslims, there is last 1 year has been there's a very glaring need to ultimately address the issue of global narrative and address the issue of internal national narrative on J&K state. On that, Government of India has scarcely failed, and whatever little is being said, it is being said by us, Kashmiri Hindus living across the world. So, yes, we have to think the other side has invested a lot on the narrative in the foreign countries, in West, in America, and also in India. And the type of resources which are at their disposal, they allow it to happen. But on the contrary, the campaign which has to be on this side, that is still very weak.
Thank you, Ajay. I also want to add that if those of you who know Francois Gauthier, he actually put together an exhibition on the genocide of Kashmiri Hindus, and was planning to have it as a part of a museum that he was trying to build. But I think
I have just to say one thing. We had in the name of Sakshatkar, we were very thankful to Francois Gauthier. Even a far more elaborate exhibition was held in Delhi, in different parts of India, and it was seen by lakhs of people in India, in Pune, in Mumbai, in Delhi. It was conducted for days. That has been done. Some basic work with regard to the evidence and the entire
Ajay, I will recommend that all those
argument of
exhibits, can we resurrect them and then put them digitally on
we
the
can
web? Let us work on that. It's a good suggestion. I will move on to my next question, which is from Mr. Bhupinder Munshi, and he is asking Pintuji Pandita. This is a question for Pintuji. He's asking, do you have any specific proposals for people in camps regarding education, healthcare, or any other social issues which we can build upon? पिंटू जी, आपके लिए क्वेश्चन है कि कोई स्पेसिफिक प्रपोजल है आपके पास?
यस सर, मेरे पास स्पेसिफिक प्रपोजल है. मैं उनसे यही प्रार्थना करना चाहता हूं कि अगर उनको प्रपोजल चाहिए मुझे बताएं. आपके थ्रू संजय जी, आपके थ्रू सर मैं भेज सकता हूं. मुझे उस चीज के लिए एड्रेस चाहिए, क्या करना है, मैं आपको पूरी डिटेल में सब प्रपोजल दे सकता हूं सर.
ठीक है, वेरी गुड, वेरी प्रिसाइज. सो यू हैव समथिंग इन हैंड व्हिच यू कैन शेयर विद पीपल, and then let them know, and then also have them work on it. Very good. I can forward it to Bhupinder ji. We will talk about how to do that. Okay. There are a couple more questions that we have received. It is mostly about how will the existence of Panun Kashmir concept happen in Kashmir. Can somebody elaborate on that? Sushil ji, would you want to take that?
You please repeat this question.
The question has come from many people, and they are basically asking about the vision of Panun Kashmir. How can that be possible?
Yes, I think that is the most important question emerging from this deliberation.
Correct.
Vision of Panun Kashmir is primarily the reversal of Kashmiri Hindu genocide. I think Panun Kashmir was born to fight this genocidal process and to reverse it. First step in that process is to first drag Indian state to the point of acknowledging this genocide. In the last 30 years, the struggle has been on to get the reluctant Indian state to acknowledge this genocide first and foremost, in all its dimensions. 2, force it to punish the genociders. Kashmiri Hindus have been awaiting justice for the last 30 years. Not one man till date has been tried, convicted, punished for these heinous crimes. And 3, to claim our share of Kashmir Valley for resettlement of Kashmiri Hindus without the yoke of these genocider-run Kashmiri system, Kashmiri polity, Kashmiri society. In these 3 steps, exactly the 3 sequence, we need to achieve And this is encapsulated in the Margdarshan of Panun Kashmir, which was adopted in December 1991 on 28th of December, which is what we will commemorate in 15 days' time. What we need to do as the very first step is to mobilize awareness and acknowledgement for this genocide, just as we had mobilized awareness and acknowledgement of Article 370 across the length and breadth of the country. In the popular consciousness, the challenge in Kashmir was encapsulated in these three numbers, 370. Anyone, even half literates, who had never been to Kashmir, who did not know where Kashmir existed on the map of India, knew the problem of Kashmir was Article 370. That was the level of awareness and consciousness encapsulated in 370. Exactly that level of awareness and consciousness we need to build in the word genocide, that we have suffered and we continue to suffer, as the first step towards reversing our genocide and fighting it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sushilji. That was very informative. I want to just read few comments that I have received, because we have actually exceeded the allocated time by already 23 minutes. One of the comments has come from Bob Lancia, who recently ran for the US Congress from Rhode Island.
I want to address.
And he asked the question, not the question, his comment is basically that in the previous presentations he has attended, he has come to know that the Kashmiri Hindus have suffered at least 7 exoduses from Kashmir. And he thinks that it should not happen again. So there is a need for their genocide to be recognized. And he also realizes that recognizing of a genocide of any community takes long time. And he gave the example of the Armenian genocide. For it to be formally recognized, it took many, many decades. So he's saying just continue to do what you are doing and keep.
Can I come in, sir? I just want to continue with that observation. Just 10 seconds.
Okay,
Lalit Ambarda.
go ahead.
Yeah, just it's a very important observation coming from America. I just want to, God forbid, if there is a change of guard in the White House finally, I'm sure the old mindset in the Home Department of America will get activated and will be in trouble, because Joe Biden is committed to Muslim agenda, agenda for Muslim Americans, which includes Kashmir. So we have to be very, very careful. And also coupled with the rise of Erdogan, I just want to bring it to your notice. We were short of time. Turkey is replacing Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in supporting and propagating Wahhabism in Kashmir. They are writing songs. They're writing, their lyricists and national poets are writing songs in the name of Kashmir Jihad, which are being sung by Pakistani singers, and they are being distributed as a matter of propaganda in Kashmir. There are also new reports that they are recruiting mercenaries. Earlier, Pakistanis used to recruit them at the rate of $100 per jihadi. They are offering more than $2,000 per jihadi to come to Kashmir and operate. So therefore, where challenges are very high, and we need the people of America to support us, because if India has to, we appreciate it was Trump who came to India on the soil of India, used the word Islamic terror. I do not see any Indian leader, including Narendra Modi, because of political compulsions. Even he has not called this terror by the name of what it deserves. It's a jihadi terror. If just mere calling expansionist forces is not enough, we have to call it by the name. French civilization, French secular system is calling it by, and the Trump called it. I'm sure we need to do that, and we need the support of Americans who believe this is a war of civilization, and India is the worst victim of it.
Thank you, Lalitji. And I just want to mention that I did receive questions from Kuldeep Hagji. I have received questions from Sitanshu Shekharji, from Vivekji, from Vandana Sharmaji, and Vasant Macheji. I am sorry I cannot include these questions at this point, but I will forward these questions to the panelists and get their response and pass it on to all the people who have asked these questions. At this point, I want to just say that I want to appeal to all the viewers who joined us today to support our movement by taking part in it. You can participate by either becoming a thought leader, a grassroots volunteer, or an influencer. If you are not able to fight this fight, then at least help those who are willing and able to do so by making them strong. In the end, in the closing, I want to thank all the viewers who joined from everywhere today. I want to thank my panelists, Dr. Agni Shekhar, Dr. Ajit Rangu, Sri Sushil Pandit, Sri Lalit Ambardar, Dr. Gidari Band, and Sri Pintuji Pandita. I want to thank Kiran Vatalji and Kamal Peshanji for also being part of this webinar. I also want to thank the organizers and the supporters. The organizing team included the Panan Kashmir, Vishwa Hindu Parishad of America, Hindu Pact, Hindu Media Bureau, and PK Rehinj. My volunteers included those who helped me organize this whole event is Lakshmi Kaul, Amitabh Mittal, Ajay Shah, Janmajay Shishupal, and Uphar Kotru. I thank them all. And in the end, I want to say, please join our struggle, because without you, we are nothing, and there is strength in numbers. I appeal to you all to wake up to this one reality, that we Hindus are willing to treat everybody as equal. For us, it does not matter who comes from which background and faith, but it matters to the other side, unfortunately so. That is why we are in the condition that we are in. We are refugees in our own country, and we have to change that, and we need your help. I'm looking for everybody's involvement. And with that, we will continue our webinar series. Look for it for next month. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you. Thank you and thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you. Namaskar. Namaskar. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Namaskar. Namaskar.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Namaskar.